A long time, do we have a little sidebar? I don't wanna, no, okay, great. So, a longtime Republican operative has a pretty surprising name that allegedly keeps coming up again and again among members of these focus groups as a contender for assuming the MAGA title. Now, something tells me that she wouldn't want to go under the label of MAGA for obvious reasons, and you'll understand why as I give you the details to this story. But the obvious choice to replace Trump would seem to be, his Secretary of State Marco Rubio or his Vice President JD Vance. But as reporter Tom Latham points out, JD Vance is now considered the lone Iran war skeptic in the government by people who are not in the know, because there's no way he's an actual Iran war skeptic. But he is facing questions over his ability to command popular support. Marco Rubio has come to the fore, but many in the MAGA movement see him as complicit in the unpopular conflict. That's hilarious. They're both complicit in the unpopular war in Iran. Nonetheless, possible alternatives have included Trump nemesis Thomas Massie and even America First broadcaster Tucker Carlson, due to the strength of their anti-war rhetoric. However, it turns out that a former Republican strategist, her name is Sarah Longwell of the Bulwark, who famously resigned as the chair of the Log Cabin Republicans over their endorsement of Trump, has another name to offer. So Longwell, who runs hundreds of focus groups trying to, just kind of get a temperature check on who is and isn't a likely contender for 2028, says that the name most commonly mentioned is none other than firebrand podcaster Candace Owens, which I gotta be honest with you is a little bit surprising. And the only reason why I say surprising is because she has really turned on Donald Trump, I think for the right reasons. And you look at the outcome of the Massie Galrine race in Kentucky, and I thought, okay, well, when it comes to Republican voters, they're still very much defending Trump, supporting Trump. And Trump pushed for Massie to be voted out, and they delivered. So maybe Trump is way more popular with the Republican base than I realized, but maybe not. So Candace is a former MAGA loyalist, as we all know. However, prior to the election in 2024, she had an interview with Sagar and Jetty that, for whatever reason, has really stuck to me, really stayed in my mind. Because Sagar asked her, you're very much against going to war against Iran. So if Trump gets elected and he launches a war against Iran, are you going to stop supporting him? Are you going to turn on him? I'm paraphrasing how he asked the question, but that was effectively what he asked her. And she's like, absolutely, yeah, I would stop supporting him. And guess what? She made good on that promise. Now, she stopped supporting Trump earlier than that, and it was, I think, because of Trump's continued support of Israel's atrocities in the Middle East. And I commend her for having a problem with that. But nonetheless, she surprised viewers recently because she had a sit-down interview with Hunter Biden. I gotta be honest with you, I appreciated that conversation. They spoke about addiction and just a lot of really interesting things that I never thought I would have any interest hearing Hunter Biden talk about, especially in the context of a Candace Owens podcast episode. But it was a really good conversation. And so, Longwell writes that for many, it was shocking to see the son of a Democratic president and an erstwhile villain in the MAGA mythology, mixing it up with one of the right's most cracked conspiracy theorists. But Biden's decision to go on Owens' show didn't surprise me at all. That's what Longwell writes. She says that it was the latest example of a phenomenon I've been hearing in my focus groups lately. Owens is one of the breakout media stars of her era. Her influence is increasingly not confined to MAGA Republicans. In fact, over the last 5 years, few individuals come up more regularly than her as non-politicians who people see as a possible future president. And I am a little bit surprised by that. However, I do think that since she has kind of separated herself from Trump, I do think that she's garnering a more diverse audience. I don't think that it's all conservatives. She's got a massive audience, number one, but also I think her willingness to be honest with herself and with others and to not buy into a cult of personality when it comes to Trump and actually stay true to what matters to her, I think that's gonna attract a more diverse audience, ideologically speaking. So she made headlines with her theories regarding the assassination or murder of Charlie Kirk. And there's the whole Brigitte Macron thing that I haven't really done any investigation into just because I don't really care. I'm just gonna keep it real. But nonetheless, the feud with her and Trump did escalate further when Trump invaded Iran. And here's what she posted on X. The 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He's a genocidal lunatic. Our Congress and military need to intervene. We are beyond madness. And Trump took shots at her for saying things like that. I'll just give you one example. This is pretty gross, but this is what he wrote on Truth Social. He shared an image of her that's not not great, and says Candace Owens' stock, which was never very high, has fallen a long way. Her attack on the First Lady of France is despicable. I believe in this case, without verification, she is an extremely low IQ individual. There you go. There's Trump using his favorite insult for black women in particular, calling them low IQ. I don't think Candace Owens is low IQ. I think Candace Owens is actually way smarter than he is, well-spoken, and actually happens to have some principles. Said that she wasn't gonna support Trump if he invaded Iran and made good on that promise because apparently her principles matter more to her than Trump's cult of personality.
Let me tell you about someone we hired recently. Great on paper, sure, but what really sold me? They were genuinely interested in the role, asked smart questions. You could tell they actually wanted to work here. Their excitement made their resume stand out from all the others. If you're hiring, you want a candidate who's passionate about your role. But you can't get that insight from just a resume unless you post your job on ZipRecruiter. Now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds qualified candidates quickly, and ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested, qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. Candidates can tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. No wonder ZipRecruiter's the #1 rated hiring site. Find candidates who really want your job on ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/TYT. That's ziprecruiter.com/TYT. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
But Trump's hostility toward Candace hasn't warded off young voters, as Longwell's reporting indicates. She says, quote, I think Candace Owens is great. I would vote for her in a minute, said Michael, a Biden to Trump voter from North Carolina in a February 2025 focus group. If we would have swapped out Candace for Kamala, they would have had this in the bag, said Daniela, a Biden to Trump voter from North Carolina in the same session. And here's what here's what happened after Longwell spoke to a group of Gen Z women. Kim, a Gen Z voter from Virginia, said in a January focus group, quote, I'm sure I'll catch a lot of flack for this one, but I'm a Candace Owens fan. I think she's a very smart lady. And guess what? Candace Owens has responded to the Bulwark's reporting on this, saying, wow, looks like President Trump's attempt to publicly shame me with a photo of me fighting an illness had the opposite desired effect. 10 out of 10 would recommend. By the way, that image of her, she was actually recovering from black mold in her apartment, which her landlord wasn't taking care of, and she suffered from that. I mean, that's a serious, black mold is so dangerous to your health. And so she took that image as evidence of the injuries she suffered as a result of the black mold problem in her apartment unit. Trump used that image to mock her and trash her. But here's the thing, what people found appealing about Trump, I'm sure some still have deluded themselves into thinking that this is the case still, but it's not. they thought that Trump was authentic. They thought that Trump was someone who wasn't being the typical phony politician. And despite all of his foibles, despite all of his history, his past, things that you can poke fun at or take jabs at, he was real. Like, you would hear that over and over again. He tells it like it is. I think people have realized that Trump has completely moved away from that, is carrying out what's in the best interest of a foreign country to the detriment of the American people. And Candace Owens is willing to walk through fire, including fire from her own political side, to stay true to what she believes. Now, some people think she's a grifter. Some people think that she's making things up. You could think whatever you want to think about Candace Owens, but here's one thing I know without a shadow of a doubt. Speaking up and speaking out against your political group, whatever that political group might be, is one of the hardest things you could ever do. People are gonna attack you, they're gonna attack your character, they might attack your family. It is awful. The fact that she was willing to do that, to stay true to what she believes, I think is gonna appeal to some people. So when you really think about it, maybe the results of all of this isn't so surprising. Still, the odds of a successful presidential bid from Candace Owens are slim. The Independent reports that Vice President JD Vance leads with 32% of voter support as a potential candidate in the 2028 Republican presidential primary election, followed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio with 15%, according to the 15 most recent polls analyzed by the New York Times. Oh my God, please shoot me in the head. Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., followed with 13% voter support. And then Florida Governor, let's wrap this up. Ron DeSantis, 6%, wrap it up. We saw the lack of riz with DeSantis in the last Republican primary in 2024. Wrap it up, okay? So we'll see what happens, I don't know. But Americans are sick of these phony politicians. They're sick of being lied to, they want someone real. We'll see if they get it in 2028.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.